Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I'm here with my co host, friend, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So, Tracy, we have a very special guest today. We have Danessa Itaya. Danessa is the president of Bio One, the most trusted crime and trauma scene cleaning franchise in the United States, and is part of the five-star franchising platform of brands. Danessa has been a nationally recognized pioneer in the franchise industry for nearly 30 years and has more than 10 years of leadership experience with noteworthy franchisors such as Service Brands International, Maid Right, Molly Maid, and Property Management Inc. Danessa is passionate advocate for the franchise industry and women's leadership, and she's serving currently on the Women in Franchise Committee for the IFA, the International Franchise Association. In fact, in 2022, Danessa earned the prestigious honor of being on Entrepreneur's list of top influential women of franchising. So, Danessa, we're so excited to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, you read that off and it makes me sound really good.
You're just so impressive.
Yeah, congratulations on that designation. That's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So I love going back in time. I would love to hear your story leading up to how you even got into Bio One.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, uh, my I think like most people, you kind of fall into franchising by accident, right? I mean, actually more and more now because they are, we've got uh, college
Yeah.
courses and direction on franchising. But back in the day, back 30 years ago, that was not really a thing. And so my husband and I had actually moved from Northern California. We both lived in San Jose and we're going to school, and he had an opportunity to get transferred out to the Midwest. And so he did that. And we were going to be there for a year. We promised our friends and family we would be back in a year. And about 9 months into that, I got an interview with Molly Maid, and I said, "Hey, we're moving back to California in 3 months, but it's always great to work on your interviewing skills." And so for that, I'm going to go interview and I'll be home in 20 minutes. And by the time I got home, they had offered me the job. For me, and then we had to make some tough decisions because at that point in time, we had to determine. It sounded like we were going to stay in Michigan and give up our opportunity to move back to California. And it was for an accounting assistant role, so it wasn't anything super glamorous. I think I made 14,000 a year. I mean, back in the day. And it was fun. It was fun. But what it did is it really opened my eyes to the world of franchising. I had some amazing people who really mentored me. Some of my very best friends still, came from that job. People I look up to, people who continue to guide me through my journey here. But it was an opportunity for me to learn franchising, be able to wear a number of different hats, everything from working my way up to the director of accounting, and then moved over and wore a hat in legal, and then moved over to operations and had an opportunity to head up our philanthropy as well, the Ms. Molly Foundation. And about 19 years into that, I was approached with an opportunity to do a startup with Maid Right. And so I left Service Brands, left all of our friends and family in Michigan, and Maid Right was smart. They reached out to a girl from Michigan in the middle of winter to move down to Atlanta. And if you get to wear your sandals in February, it's a good thing. So we moved the family down to Atlanta and created Maid Right and did that for about 5 years, and then had the opportunity to join PMI, Property Management Inc. And that moved us to Utah. And we love Utah. We love to ski, and it got us closer to family and friends again. And
Mhm.
so did that. And then I joined Bio One about a year ago. And it's been a fun ride. I always look at, who I get to do business with. And that for me is really important as I look at, my career and who do I want to do it with. We spend so much time with people that you got to love the people that you're working with.
So true. Okay, my brain's going two directions. I want to know um, how you met your husband, because I understand that was also kind of a it just happened kind of thing. And then the second part of me wants to ask more technical questions about you went from Molly Maid, which was a pretty good sized franchise organization, to a startup. And I have this curiosity of how you adapted to that and how different they might have been. So
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about that. Then we'll backtrack to your husband. He can wait. So let's
Oh, he's used to that. So it was, boy, it was different. One, you're leaving a company that you've been with for 19 years. And so one, how everything runs, who you need to go to if you've got questions, all of that. Then you go to a startup. So Maid Right was a sister company to Jam Pro. And so Jam Pro, very, very established, amazing people there. They had really mastered that master franchise concept. And so they wanted to create one for residential. If it worked in commercial, it should absolutely work in residential. And it addressed probably one of the biggest frustrations people have with residential cleaning, which
Mhm.
is it's a different person cleaning my house every time. And so I don't know who it is. And they put the rugs back in the wrong place and the toothbrush holder on the wrong side of the sink and all of those things. And so being able to address that, but it was really interesting to be able to kind of take everything I had learned from Molly Maid and be able to create, like, if you could do it all over again, what
Mm,
would you do differently? And so it was a blast. How often do you get that opportunity to be able to say, clean slate, clean slate? What are all the mistakes that every other
yeah.
residential cleaning brand struggled with? And then how do we build a model now that addresses as many of those as possible? It was so much fun. So
Wow. Yeah.
you want to
One of the things, Tracy, I'm hearing is this word fun a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't always think about business being fun or my life being fun, but it seems like you do, Vanessa. What's that all about? Where does this fun side of you come from?
Um, I don't know. For me, I feel like life should be full of fun and enjoyment, and for me, I think there's a lot of joy for me in that, whether it's friendships, whether it's relationships with franchisees, whether it's I think we all work really, really hard. And if you don't have some fun in there, then you're just working really, really hard. And so you got to balance the two, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Danessa, I really get the impression from listening to you speak and reading your LinkedIn profile that you're a community builder. And I think with being that community builder, that's part of where that fun comes from, even going all the way back to how you met your husband, which Rebecca was curious about also. Um, would
Yeah.
love to share that story
Yeah.
from you to our listeners.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, growing up, my very first job was between high school and college, and it was a summer job, and it was at Great America, so a theme park in Santa Clara, and best job ever, for 18-year-olds. I mean, these guys knew who their employees were. So after the park would close, sometimes they'd have parties where you'd get to ride the rides, play the games, eat whatever hot dogs and churros are left over. I mean, it was just great. And we had really developed some really great friends there, and all who were going to San Jose State just like us. And
Hmm.
so being able to really just build that friendship and that camaraderie. And that's what you love, right? You love going to school and or going to work and hanging out with your friends and being able to go to lunch with them or spend the evening with them. So very much. I am a firm believer. I think it's probably why I love franchising so much is the people, right? I mean, we've got the IFA conference coming up, and I think the most exciting it's going to be great to learn, and it's going to be great to go and hear all the speakers and attend the workshops. But more than anything, we're looking forward to seeing our friends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And, even as you're talking about the theme park and a romance that came out of that, it is that combination of fun and relationship, but at the same time, we have a common goal to build something and to take care of people. So, what a beautiful recipe, right, for a very balanced and delightful and successful life. And we have relationships and we have challenges and we have team and we have fun, all sort of, you know, brewed together to create this wonderful life. And it sounds like you've carried that on in other roles, which brings me to my next question. Danessa, is there a theme or a motto or a belief or something that seems to play out through your life no matter what the scenario is?
Yeah. Often when people ask that, you kind of take a step back and you think, I'm just kind of lucky. I've kind of been in the right place at the right time. But then I also know that I have to give credit to people who supported me and who opened doors for me that I didn't even know existed. Um, I look at things like, I look at people even at service brands, just being able to learn from amazing men and women who just kind of said, hey, if having tough conversations with you, very direct, real conversations, saying, hey, you want to continue to grow, you may want to pursue this path. Or, hey, you may want to not just act so silly at some of these events. You want people to take you seriously. And so really getting good advice like that, um, is I'm so appreciative that people took the time to have that conversation with me.
Wow. What do you think it was that allowed you to notice these opportunities in general?
Yeah, yeah. So I was reading a book, and there was in there was a chapter that on mindfulness. And first when you get to a chapter titled mindfulness, and I'm a very hands-on kind of person, and so I wasn't sure if he was going to talk about spirituality and all this stuff, but really what he talked about was mindfulness as it relates to you being present in the moment, you being mindful of what's going on right there, right then. And he talks about how luck, people who are very mindful, are often attributed or credited for being lucky. And so I thought, okay, that for me makes sense. I think there are so many times that if you're paying attention to what's going on around you, you're far more observant. We get so sucked into our phones, or what is my next meeting, or what do I have going on this week, or what am I cooking for dinner, or all these things that are all going on in your mind, instead of just being able to pay attention and being engaged in the conversation that's happening there. And I find myself doing it all the time. We're driving in the car with my husband, and it's like, I realize that neither of us has said anything because we're both kind of in our own minds.
Yeah.
And so being able to just engage. And so I do feel like that mindfulness piece of it, being present in the moment is a big thing, but it's not easy. I feel like it's something we're always working on.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought this topic up, Danessa, because you're right. We're so busy and we've got so many things going on in our mind. I happen to be one of those people that lives in the future, so I have no idea how much I have missed. And this correlation between mindfulness and being present and luck, clearly there's a correlation there. We're paying attention in that way. I'll give you a crazy example. You girls are going to giggle. I've always been into psychographic assessments. I've written them, designed them. that was 30 years in franchising. But I had a friend that lived in my area, Rancho Santa Fe, California, and he said, you need to meet someone that practically is your neighbor. And he's starting this website called Match.com. And he is looking for a profiling tool to match folks for romantic relationships.
Wow.
And I was still in private practice at that time. But I thought, you know what? Whatever. This is before all the dating sites, right? This was really early on. And I met with the guy and I'm like, oh no, I'm in private practice. What do I know about relationships? I've been divorced twice, you know, kind of thing. And I passed it up. Danessa, I would be retired today if I had been mindful and seeing that that was an opportunity for me. But I met with the gentleman and said I wasn't interested. Isn't that horrible? I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
That's great.
So, do you think you come by your mindfulness naturally, or do you have to, through the day as a leader, really, really remind yourself?
Oh, I constantly am reminding myself. I think but then there are things that you do like I have on my calendar every Friday morning from 8 to 9 I have what I call a clarity break, and I just that for me is an hour blocked. It's kind of sacred time, and that I get to just kind of reflect and be able to just recognize, you know, things that are going on right now. And I have to do it. For me, it's one of those things that if I'm traveling during that time, then I kind of miss it. But I I'm a scheduler. I live by my calendar, and so having to schedule it was the best way for me to do that. But then it's even things like we talked about, like when you're in the car, you know, being present in the moment instead of thinking about the 3 meetings I had or the things coming up and, you know, for tomorrow. And so it's a constant reminder.
Wow. I love that. That just blew my mind, the clarity break. So, Danessa, what is the difference between being in the car and just thinking and having this clarity break?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so for me, I use my clarity break to kind of just focus on um, these are the things that are my top priorities. And so for that, am I focused on my top priorities, or am I lost in the, I don't know, the 5 meetings I had, or someone posted something on Facebook or whatever it is. And so just for me to say, these are my top priorities for this week. Did I accomplish them? What else do I need to do to accomplish them? And so instead of it being a planning forward, it's kind of just a refocus. It's just a kind of,
Mm.
am I doing the things that I need to do? Is it, you know, how did I do this week? And am I still focused on, and are those still priorities? You know, those priorities could change.
Yes, that's a really good point. So it still needs, whatever I'm doing still needs to line up with the priorities, my values, whatever. And that reflection lets me know, or is my current time being spent in that way, or my energy spent in that way. I think this idea of a clarity break, I'm going to integrate it immediately.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yes.
That's just amazing. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit, Danessa. Bio one. What's up? And what was your attraction
What's
to
up?
Bio one? You're there a year now. You stepped into a leadership role. What excites you about this concept?
Yeah. So, you know, what's really interesting is 20 years in, well, 25 years in residential cleaning. And it took me forever to help my family understand that I didn't clean homes for a living. Like they just, you know, I mean, franchising is weird and people aren't sure. So do you run a franchise? Do you clean though? No, you know, no, I work at the head, you know, people just don't understand. And so then, you know, this bio one thing came along and they're like, do you go out and clean crime scenes? And I'm like, I don't clean crime scenes. But it's an interesting industry. when I first started talking to the team at Five Star, I kind of said, I don't know if this is for me. I'm not, who doesn't enjoy a good true crime podcast? We all are intrigued by it. But it was really interesting to see the other side of it. And I think people sometimes forget about the people aspect of it. And
Mm.
so the more I started doing my due diligence and kind of learning who people were and the franchisees and why people do this, one of the things that I saw, and this actually came from the Google reviews for Bio1 Inc. And I started reading through those, and it's family members talking about how much they appreciate the discretion of the team who came and helped clean out their mom's home so that it could get into a livable condition. About the daughter who was appreciative they were able to help a family member out because they live out of state and they weren't able to help. About the team of young men who came in and they're named. When you see that people are named, that a relationship was built there. And so then you think this is less about blood and guts and body parts and things like this. This is about helping people. And so, our tagline is help first, business second. Our
Mm.
goal is to come in, how do we help you? People always ask, how much does it cost? Well, you know what? We're gonna create a plan for you. We're gonna figure out how to make this work, but we're here to help. That's the first thing. And so the opportunity to be involved in something that gives back to the community, that helps people, and is an amazing business model. I don't know if it gets better than that.
That's amazing. I actually like saw the first side of it, like the front side of it firsthand, because I have a neighbor that lives directly across the street from me, and her husband had an incident, right? He just kind of went crazy for a minute and somehow made a mess, right, all over the house. And what they didn't know at the time was that he was very, very ill, like both mentally and physically. And to see her, my neighbor, who usually has it all together, to see her in such distress that she didn't even know where to begin to like both take care of him and take care of the house. You must see that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is more often than not there are issues of mental illness and
Mhm.
involved and so with that we have to partner and make sure that we've in addition to us coming in and doing the cleaning and helping with those services, we want to be able to hey, you may consider working with a victim advocates group or a you know um, we train our franchisees that they are not counselors. Do not take that on. We have big hearts, we want to help, but helping them, making sure that they get to qualified people who are trained to help people like this is essential.
I just want to say one more thing. So there is a free course that I just took. There's the work that you do beforehand, which is a couple of hours. Then you go for the afternoon. It's called Mental Health First Aid, and it's exactly what you just mentioned. It's identifying if someone even needs mental health support. But like you said, it's not like they're coming in as the support itself. It's just recognizing that. It's called mental health first aid. And it sounds like that's what your team kind of is trained to do to a certain degree.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's really interesting to see the needs out there and it's great to be in a position where you can help.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I've been doing this for a year and I've given 3 referrals and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is not the kind of referral I want to give. And at the same time, people are so appreciative that something like this exists and that that there is some help for people. So
Wow.
Yeah. What a wonderful service for everyone. The picture I got was the way you're training your franchisees and those that are helping the franchisees. is the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? We're empathetic listeners. We understand you're in a situation, and we're going to take care of these things around you that are making it even worse. But we're not going to jump in and fix you because we're not trained to. We're going to provide you resources or direction that way. So, kind of not jumping into that quicksand. So I think this is a beautiful, beautiful service. I can see if I would be in your shoes that I would have gone, I got to look at this a little bit deeper, especially since you got this fun part of you, right? That now how do I have fun in these crises situations, but it's still about the relationships and
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, as a leader, Danessa, if there was some advice you would give a 20-something young person, um, what advice would you give them so they too could learn, you know, see
Mhm.
opportunity and rise to a place where they can contribute the way that you contribute?
Yeah. Um, so a couple things. I think I don't know if it's age that changes your thought process, but I think when you're young, you're trying to be accepted. You're trying to um, you're trying to conform to who you think you need to be in order to get to a specific level or a specific job or whatever it is. And what I've learned uh, probably more recently than anything is that you just got to be you. You just
Mm.
because and maybe it is. Maybe it's society that's changing a bit because they want to know. I mean, this concept of vulnerability is okay. I mean that. I don't know. As a woman, I didn't always feel that way. I would get embarrassed if I cried in a meeting.
Mhm.
And now being able to hear people say, "Hey, listen, that's just who you are," and you just embrace it. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to be embarrassed. It's how you show feelings, and and for me, I see that and I say, hey, I want to know how people, I already know they're smart, right? That's why we hired them. I already interact with them. I want to see the other sides. And so I think more than anything, don't worry about what other people think. If you want to learn, if you want to do your job, if you're mindful, if you're paying attention to what's going on, and you're seizing opportunities, I see some of these, younger leaders coming up, whether they're in peer groups or whether they're on committees that I serve on. They're so smart. They are so smart, and they are them, and they make no apologies for who they are. And I love that. I like knowing who people are. I love personalities, and the bigger the better. For me, I think it adds everybody can be professional. Everybody can, and maybe it's the fun side of me because I do I do like getting to know people deeper than just the polished exterior that most of us put on when we go to work every day.
Wow. Yeah. It's so infectious.
It
Like your
is
enthusiasm. It is. It's infectious.
very
So you
infectious.
mentioned something at the beginning of our conversation, which was that now there are courses in colleges about franchise. So when you think about the course of your 30 years, right? Or, 30 plus years, what do you wish you would have learned sooner, or if you would have maybe, I don't know if it's gone back in time or like fast forwarded the time that you were in those courses? Which course do you think would have suited you the best to learn more immediately in this field?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think it would have condensed my learning process significantly. If you can learn if you can take everything I've learned in 30 years and condense it down to, a couple years, that would be amazing.
Mm.
I think there's also a lot to be said for on the job, kind of building relationships and learning by making mistakes. But franchising is such a it's an amazing business model, and I don't think most people understand that. And
Mhm.
so, like for me, I look at it and I'd say, if I could shorten my learning curve, that would be awesome. But I don't know if what that would have done, because I think you do need the life experiences that go along with them to learn, what do I like doing? What do I not like doing? And I oversaw our legal department, and people said, "Are you an attorney?" And I'm like, "I'm not an attorney. I'm not even trained as an attorney." But I do understand franchising. I do understand state regulations, things like that, and they were willing to teach it. And I was able to go to conferences that would teach me, and I'd sit in rooms with these amazing attorneys who I could just pick their brains for free. And so I think I'm extremely grateful that they have official, or they have traditional structured learning, because there is so much education that needs to happen. I look at, and not to talk politics, but I do look at the fact that so much of franchising is trying to get regulated because people don't understand it. And they don't
Mhm.
understand that it is that your neighbor down the street who owns that franchise. It has nothing to do with, we're not Home Depot. This is a bio one that their kids go to your kid's school, and so with that, when costs of labor and materials and supplies go up, it impacts their profitability. And so being able to understand that aspect of it, I'm thankful for programs like this that will help better educate people.
Yeah, and like you said, today we are doing a better job at universities and other opportunities. Titus Center for Franchising,
Right?
University of Texas, University of
Well,
Tennessee. Many of them are bringing in these programs for this next generation, and they are a lot smarter.
yeah,
And the
right,
learning curve will be better. Just like the second wave of franchisees, they tend to ramp up and learn faster than the first
right.
or in that trial and error. But as you were talking, I was thinking about your clarity hour, right? That you have. And part of that is looking at that week or whatever. And I would guess a part of it is, what did I learn this week? What worked? What didn't work? What did I learn? And I think that reflection solidifies what we have learned. Would you agree with that, Danessa?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think um one, I am we always I mean, we have to keep learning, right? I mean, things are changing. I mean, you look at things like AI and all of that, and it just helps us become more efficient, and be able to do our jobs better. Um, and it's I always joke around. At what point do I become my grandma who just never wanted to change the flashing 12 o'clock on her VCR? We would, we'd always offer to fix it. We'll just set the time for you. And no, I don't need to. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to deal with it. And so every once in a while, I think, okay, whether it's my clarity break that helps me kind of refocus, but am I still learning? Or have I become I'm not going to learn how to use a new phone. I just really like my old phone, or I like my computer just as it is.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like you're talking about innovation,
yeah.
like staying relevant, right? Is that part of the process that you're talking about?
Very much. And I think the other thing is, whether I'm willing to learn new stuff, is surrounding myself with people who do want to learn that stuff. So if I don't want to become the AI expert, then I have to have enough knowledge to understand it, and then recognize that I've got an amazing team who will embrace this and be able to use it as a really awesome tool. So I think it's also recognizing when it's like, yeah, that is not something I need to fill my brain with, but
Yeah,
I do need to make sure someone does.
Right.
exactly. Don't have to know it all. We just
Yeah,
need to know some and know that we hired the right people that do know it all, right?
right,
Kind of
right.
kid. All right, so let's go to the future. All right. I know you're going to write a book on on how luck and mindfulness and mentorship come together to create fabulous leaders. We already know you're going to write that book. What else is your future all about? What do you see for you and maybe your family and Bio One?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. So this is our first year, we're empty nesters, and my husband and I are enjoying it thoroughly. You know, we get to have cereal for dinner, nobody complains. Um, and we can have dinner at 8 o'clock at night too. So, but uh, when I look at, my future, and I think there are phases of your life, when we're young and our kids are young, and we're just trying to make sure we get them to soccer practice and band practice and all of these and Cub Scouts and all of that stuff. And you just think, is this the rest of my life? And you just remind yourself that this is just a phase, and we're going to enjoy it while we're in it, because we're going to miss it. And so we miss it. We miss it sitting at the soccer fields. And so it's been fun. So my husband and I, we're taking up new hobbies, and, we're going to learn how to golf.
Oh,
So after all these years of not golfing, but I think it's kind of fun to look at, this is kind of the next phase of our life. And, personally, just to have a little bit of time. People have said, I heard someone say that empty nesterhood is like dating again, but now you have money. And so, I'm like, I love that. I'm like, okay, we can go on dates, we can go away for the weekend.
Right.
But then professionally, my goal has always been to continue to, because I feel like I've been so blessed to be mentored and to have people have my back. My goal has always been to pay it forward. And so with that, I love being a part of the Women Franchising Committee with the IFA. I did a 30 under 30. So I was a mentor for a someone who is in a brand that has less than 30 franchises. And it was a year long, it was a year long program, and it ended at the end of the year. And it was just so funny, because every month, we would get together and we'd have our chat, and I just reached out to her and I said, I miss our chats.
yes,
And she said, I do too. She said, do you want to still do it? And I said, I would love to still do it. And so we still just, once a month we hop on the phone, or she'll text me a quick question, or she'll drop me an email. And I'm like, I love that. I love being able to do that, because I know how much it was afforded to me. And it doesn't, I feel like it's part of the community that we're in helping each other continue to grow. So it's fun.
Beautiful.
there's fun. We brought fun back in.
There's fun. So, Danessa, before we run out of time, where can people reach you?
Yeah, yeah. So they can reach me at danessa.itaya@bio1inc.com. If they want to learn more about Bio One, they can just go to bio1inc.com and learn more about us, or they can check me out on LinkedIn. And I'm always happy to chat.
You have such a beautiful smile.
Oh, you're kind.
Yeah, I just been sort of awing it the whole time as you're talking. You have a beautiful smile and a light spirit. So I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to implement immediately that clarity hour. And I think I'm going to add to that a bit of a journal that says, what have I learned this week? So I don't keep making the same mistakes. Right. That would be a good thing in my life. So thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for having me. These are always fun. They're just so conversational and fun
Yeah.
to get to know you guys as well.
And I'm going to punt it over to you, Tracy, for your wrap up.
I have to tell you that I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. I know Rebecca has too. We've enjoyed learning about you. And I want to focus just for a minute on this how you're so heart-led. Like I think it just is so pervasive throughout you. You know, Rebecca was talking about your smile, and you just glow. You
Mhm.
just glow. You just light up a room. So it's interesting because being heart-led, I think that's what emanates down to your team, and then that emanates down to the customers who are leaving these amazing reviews. So it's just that infusion of the heart-driven, heart-led, empathy, caring about people, the fun, and one more thing, being passion driven. And I heard that when you were talking about crying in the meetings. It's not about, sadness. People, what I've learned throughout the years is that people cry because they're just so impassioned by something that it overcomes them sometimes and they don't know how to express it otherwise. So thank you for being that person and for being so passion driven, heart led. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you both, ladies, and thank you to those of you that are listening in today to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. Make sure to like, comment, share Danessa's interview, and of course, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman podcast.